Now let's get to Sani Petty. Alyssa, I'm going to have you go first this week. Sanity corner, or do you feel petty?
I'm a little petty. So, a couple weeks ago, and it's like a larger thing, but a couple weeks ago, I'm getting older. My body's not working the way it's supposed to. My doctor's like, you know what? Get a little right set yourself. Keep Pedialyte in the house. Drink some Pedialyte, blah, blah. And I was like, great. And so I go out and I buy the Pedialyte. I don't like the powdered stuff. I like the actual bottles. So I bring the Pedialyte home and I like wrenched my back trying to fucking open it. Oh, no. And the reason that I'm here is not for middle-aged white ladies like myself who are just like, I need a hit of Pedialyte so I don't get woozy when I go outside. It is because Pedialyte is for children, which ostensibly means that they are shrink-wrapped to hell, as if Tylenol has just been tampered with in the 80s, because they're afraid, they are trying to protect children.
But from being too hydrated?
Yeah, from liking that salty flavor.
But I get it. They don't want it tampered with, right? Like, no tampering. But Erin, specifically thought of you. I'm like, if I have a kid who needs Pedialyte and I need the fucking jaws of life to open this thing, like, how am I supposed to get it done? And then it also made me think about how mean some of the half and half containers are, because it's like, I specifically buy one that has a big enough lid, like, that I can screw it, because some of them make you think you have, like, arthritis.
Yeah.
Because you try to open it, you're like, whoa, do I have arthritis? Why can't I get a grip on this? But the Pedialyte, I just want you to know, I need a steak knife to get the foil shrink wrap thing off the top. And it also made me think of like formula containers. I'm like, what are people supposed to do? You have a crying baby, like maybe in one hand, and you're trying to just like rip open the Pedialyte. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I knocked it over once trying to get it out of this. So anyway, I was feeling petty for me, but like more on behalf of everybody else.
Okay. I can appreciate that.
It was crazy.
I mean, imagine a college-age student hungover trying to get that Pedialyte.
There's no way. There's no way.
They're just going to be dehydrated.
You know what you're going to do? If you're a college student, you're just going to take a straw and stick it through the aluminum foil and just do it that way.
All day.
Totally. Yeah, that sounds like a kind of cool way to drink Pedialyte.
Yeah. I actually just gave myself an idea.
Let her cook. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I am feeling petty about something that normally makes me feel like very sane and happy. Something that's made me feel very happy this year is watching WNBA basketball. I haven't been like a junkie about it, but if there's a game on, it's like it just is like really exciting. And I know that the WNBA has been exciting for many years, and there have been players that have been playing for many years that are just really cool and fun and exciting, but those games have been hard to find. They haven't been easy to watch. This year, there's just like so many games on. Like I watched Liberty Aces play each other, even though Wilson was out on Sunday, and it was like just a really fun game. Point is, I'm watching a lot more WNBA, and so are a lot of people. Why doesn't the WNBA have a good selection of toddler and little kids' clothes? Yeah. Why can't I buy my little 3-year-old a Asia Wilson jersey? Why can't I buy her a Rikia Jackson jersey? It's like, but part of the reason that it's so fun to watch the WNBA is it's like, oh, look at all these little girls in the crowd. Look at all these people watching like these women be awesome.
And nothing's cuter than a little person in a jersey.
Nothing is cuter. Nothing is cuter. Like, and there's so much Indiana Fever gear now. People are they're selling out of Caitlin Clark stuff. Even like Aaliyah Boston is doing great. Like, there are so many opportunities, and I feel like there's also a lot of dads and moms, but dads who have like little girls who are sitting and watching the WNBA with their little girls, and they're getting to know the players, and it just seems like I just want to get a little WNBA.
Low-hanging fruit.
Right. And do they want to make money?
Yeah, I know. And
have you checked Etsy?
I mean, I don't want, see, that's the thing.
I'm just saying. That's what I'm tipping the hat to the WNBA to be like, come on, you could do it yourself, or we can just go to Etsy.
Yes, exactly.
You're forcing us. You're forcing our hand.
Yeah, don't make us do it.
We've got the Valkyries are about to launch as an expansion team up in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and that's a really cool ass name for a team, and the colors look really cool. And Paige Beckers, who's the best college basketball player right now, is probably going to either go to the Sparks or the Valkyries next year, and so it's just going to be, can you please make some little kids jerseys, please? That's all I'm asking. Thank you. Okay, Akilah, Sanity or petty?
I mean, it kind of feels like a mashup of the two because I'm trying. Listen, we're gonna go back to the debate, but I will say that it's vaguely petty. So we have to talk about this Haitians eating animals thing because it's so ridiculous. But the reason I'm feeling petty about it is because it's such a poorly crafted lie. They're like, people are saying they're abducting animals. I don't know if you've been outside lately, but there are cats everywhere. If you're really keen to eat a cat, you could just go outside and get one. It doesn't have to be somebody's cat. So, of course, that's a lie. But then they're also like...
cats are notoriously, like, not easy to catch. Like, if you're trying to chase a cat, you're not going to do very well.
I also feel like most cats are, like, really bony. Like, who's eating a cat for food?
Yeah,
it's
carnivores.
Not true.
Honestly... They're not tasty morsels, okay?
Right,
They're
right.
like beef
You're
jerky.
crunching through tail. Like, there's just, it's not delicious. It sounds like a ridiculous thing to say. But so that's like the baseline. But then you escalate to they're at the park abducting geese. I don't know if you've ever met a goose. Scary, territorial,
mean,
huge.
mean. Are they also abducting wild turkeys? Because they're a good time.
If somebody is actually taking on a goose in person, first of all, I have a video. I need you to know my phone is in my hand because that goose is going to kick its ass. There's no doubt. My money's on the goose, so I'm watching. Secondly, if you can best a goose in a park to take home to eat, you deserve to eat the goose. It shouldn't be in a front. Like, Don Jr.'s out here, protected in a van shooting wildlife, and you all are like, yes, prize, amazing. But you're making up lies about immigrants taking on a fearsome predator. Like, geese they do not suffer fools. So I'm like, you're making up this lie, but now we're mad about it. Suddenly you're the party that cares about cats. Suddenly you're the party that cares about the wildlife. Kiss my ass is how I feel. So I'm feeling petty about it because I'm like, if you're gonna lie right. Like, tell a lie that's believable. Like JD Vance humping a couch. I believe it. Whether it happened or not. That you look at that man and you're like, he's humping. I mean, if he's humping anything, it's probably a cushion. It's not a living thing. So I'm just saying, if you're gonna lie to our face, make it believable. I hate that shit. I think it's so lazy. Because also we are living in an ecosystem of lies and misinformation. So like, if you're going to just take the easy win, do something that makes sense. But also another affront to them because like there are 300,000 Haitian people in Florida. You think that this state that is now a toss-up doesn't have, people who are now independent working with Haitians? They're not coming in there saying like, Trump was right about you guys eating cats. They're saying, I'm going to be real quiet about my support of Trump. That's what's happening. So I think that they're just painting themselves into a corner, and what a joke. What a joke. What a waste of the American people's time. Lie better.
And on that note, lie better. Thank you, Akilah. And welcome back. You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast for biscuit likers. Akilah is still here with us, and she is hosting a new podcast, and I am really excited to talk to her about it. So, Akilah, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Rebel Spirit?
Yes. Okay. So Rebel Spirit has been a labor of love for the past year. And it is different than What a Day. It's the episodes are much longer, and it just took a lot of, I think, research for a specific area. It felt very, very like I was back in J school reporting. And so Rebel Spirit is about my hometown. I grew up in Florence, Kentucky. It's about 20 minutes south of Cincinnati, Ohio. And if you're a history buff, you know that Kentucky was neutral in the Civil War, and it touches Ohio, which has this crucial passageway to freedom in the North for enslaved people. So the area is pretty rich with history, but the kind of history we don't want to talk about right now because CRT, DEI, whatever acronym they're going to come up with, to shame Black people, whatever. Long story long, my high school, Boone County High School in Kentucky, has a Confederate general for a mascot named Mr. Rebel. The team is the Rebels, and there's so much going on there, and I just think that they should change it. I think it would be a huge opportunity for the town, for their athletic department, a moment to step forward. And, what I saw as sort of this easy, light lift, make change, locally effort became this much further reaching thing because of the level of lying and denial and just like bureaucracy that was put in place to stop these sorts of efforts. And so the truth is, Rebel Spirit is like a parallel for, I think, making change anywhere in this country. It doesn't happen with a wave of a wand. It doesn't happen overnight. It requires forming a coalition and attending meetings and coming up with lots of creative strategies to sort of just move the needle. And every bit of that needle move you do feel, where you're like, oh, wow, we found an accomplice. Oh, wow, we found, people who we absolutely thought would be on the other side of this issue who are like ready and willing to, speak up. And so, yeah, it's 10 episodes, but we have 4 more coming because there's been some movement.
Yes.
So it's all very exciting. But if you love weird, goofy mascots, if you love biscuits, if you love justice, if you love a Virgo locked in, reporting the facts at a library, then I think this is a fun romp for you.
Akilah, what was it like? You went back to your high school. Yeah. Like, you physically went back. What was that like?
I mean, it is... I still think I'm processing it, and the last time I was there, it was Juneteenth, and it's strange. So I graduated in 2005. I skipped 2 grades, so don't do any math on my age. Right? I'm young. Okay, whatever. But in any case, and I think the most stark thing is how different it is. Like, I think we all feel time passing as we age, whatever. But like, just to see the stark contrast of like diversity in the area, that there's a mosque across the street from the school now, that there are like Spanish grocery stores, and like you can walk down sidewalks that exist now because like there were no sidewalks, which I feel like I really make a meal out of on the podcast. But like, imagine walking to your friend's house in like, I don't know, a sort of suburb, and there's no sidewalks. You're just like on the side of like a highway. There's like trucks passing you. You're like, I'm on my way to your house. You don't have a cell phone, so like you could be dead in a ditch at any point all the time. And that's just like life for kids there. So to see that, like, they can get to the mall even though the mall's dead, and like the mall being dead was such a, I think, moment for me. Like, it is so different. But really the high school of it all, man, if there's any high schoolers listening, I just want to say, like, when you are this far removed and you're looking back, so many of those problems seem so small. Like, I'm like, what was I remember high school so, I don't know, as I did a lot of extracurriculars, I was like super involved, but I never thought of myself as like popular or anything, because again, there were like 5 black kids. Like, it was just like, we were not at the top of anything. And so all of those feelings I carried with me, it was like, now I'm like the bad bitch in charge, coming back being like, this is what it's gonna be, okay? You're gonna change.
Akilah, so I have a question. I get a lot of local news here in upstate New York, and through the years, there have been 1 or 2 stories that have made the local news about changing mascots. Especially up here, we have a lot of native tribes and a lot of braves, chiefs, etc. And did you find in researching the pod that changing mascots is actually much more rampant and much more something that people are doing beyond the like 1 or 2 stories we hear about every now and again?
Totally. I had a great conversation with a man who runs this website called mascotdb.com. So it's a mascot database, and he does it just for fun. And he really tracks like where the schools started. And I mean, also, professional teams, but where they started and where they've ended up. And he came prepared with his Excel documents. It was just like, this is the trend. Like, especially since 2020, like, I think that we all sort of feel like beat down by the Black Lives Matter summer because conservatives have really been like, DEI was a mistake and CRT, and why do we have to hear about people who aren't white men? And, there's this huge backlash that we're currently living through, like, the affirmative action case being overturned, and now there are fewer black kids in, higher education at Ivy League schools. Like, that immediately happened. So, like, I think that as progressives, it's easy to feel like, let's just not talk about it. But the reality is, like, these are small towns making that decision, every day since then. Because in those small towns, there is more diversity than there was. And so, like, you know, maybe I'm a coastal elite now that I no longer live in Kentucky, but like there are still tons of mixed kids and black kids and international kids who've come to the region, and they don't feel represented by that sort of stuff either. So it's like, it has been really heartening to see that like there is just a push to change. There has been massive movement, and like, in, you know, the thing that I think is kind of dark about it, but you know, it's just what it is that these moments of change happen during racial tragedies. When there is that inflection point. And so after Charlottesville, when you have white supremacists, after January 6th, when you have white supremacists, you know, like that's when these schools are saying, we can't be associated. Like, and so the next episode, so 2 episodes have come out. The 3rd episode is about the half measures that the school has taken over the years. And they always coincide with things that have happened. You know, like in 1992, there's Rodney King. And so suddenly there are no more Confederate flags in the school. In Cincinnati, towards the end of the 90s, there was, you know, a police officer killed a man named Timothy Thomas. The city shut down. And so the school then got the Confederate flag off of the gym floor. You know, they get rid of Mr. Rebel in that same fell swoop. And so while I was at the school, we didn't even have that guy coming around, but we still had, you know, the sort of Confederate sympathizers within the school base. And in 2017, post Charlottesville, or, you know, the timeline's a little wonky, but right around then, in the time when they're getting rid of all these Confederate statues and monuments, that's when they retired Mr. Rebel. But they're still the rebels. It's the last thing. And so I guess just to answer your question also, like when we spoke to that man who runs the database, what he also pointed out was that, you know, not only are these is the trend that we're moving away from these hateful mascots, but it also, like, they follow a very specific formula where it's like you remove the mascot, then you wait some time, then you introduce a logo that's just like initials for the school, and there's nothing. And that is the last step before they eventually just change it, and we're already at that step. So let's just say it's worth listening to because things are moving as we speak. If you're on Facebook, which I don't recommend, but everything for some reason in the area is on Facebook, there's a lot of discourse currently.
Amazing. Yeah, Akilah, I texted you about this, but my uncle does that kind of work with Native and indigenous tribes in Wisconsin. Shout out Jeff Ryan. He's
Awesome.
a teacher at Prescott High School, and I get DMs from former students of his sometimes because he was a beloved teacher who was
awesome.
He was like not afraid to be like, hey guys, the tribe doesn't like this.
This is uncool.
Yeah, why?
Just want to say no one's riding with this.
Yeah. They don't like it, and here they are to be like, hey, we don't like it. And then I mean, it's kind of hard when like you're being faced with somebody who's like, hey, we don't like it. This is directly offensive to me. And they're like, yeah, but tradition, my feelings. Like,
right.
Did you get a lot of pushback from people? Did you get like any particularly hostile responses as you were trying to get this change made?
Absolutely. And like some of it was shocking. Like I would say that, you know, the pushback from the district was very bureaucratic and just, you know, the runaround. But then there was also like, you know, we were put in contact with Black people who my mom would describe as like Al Sharpton. Like they're just there to cool out the Black people. Like, don't riot. Like they were just, and I went into it so earnestly and naively being like, and great, we're going to meet and she's going to get it. And because she's Black and we're going to move forward. And she was like a parent in the district. And she was really like, well, why does this have to matter? You know, like who cares? And I'm like, who cares? Like,
no.
So there's like, you know, there's that level of it. But then, you know, I did some press when I was back home and we spoke to the Cincinnati Enquirer. And so they posted the interview on Facebook. And that, I think, was sort of this moment of like locals who are very online, who are very, you know, in their bubble, very conservative, just being like, we don't want this woke shit here. Take it back to LA. No one actually cares. The school district has a PR woman who was like, she's the only person who cares about this. Meanwhile, there's a petition that has thousands of signatures. It's like, change the mascot. And so it's just like, it is a lot of sort of vitriolic pushback. I'll say it's weirdly less than it was when I went back for my high school reunion and wrote about it. For some reason, that was more offensive to them. But I will say, I didn't mean to plug it, but I have it right here on the desk. I was actually above the above the title of the newspaper. They were like,
oh my gosh.
change the mascot. So it is like a real story there. And so I think it's really exciting because what's actually happened as a response is I'm getting so many messages from people with messed up mascots across the country that are like, we'll do our place next. And I'm like, please listen to this as if it is your hometown with the messed up mascot, because it is the same story. Like, there's nothing unique about this city, actually. It is the same problem everywhere that you have these mascots. And it is this last gasp of just like, well, why can't we have white supremacy? And without it, who are we? And I'm like, let's write that next chapter. Let's just go. Let's just stop caring about what this was. Like, it's embarrassing.
Right. Alyssa, what was your high school mascot?
We were the Rhinebeck Indians.
Oh, did you change?
Not anymore. Now
Okay.
I think they're the Rhinebeck Hawks.
Okay.
I think they're the Rhinebeck Hawks now.
That's cooler. That's cooler anyway. Like, that's cooler
Yeah.
anyway. We were the Frederick Vikings.
Oh,
We're still
That's
the
pretty
Frederick-
good.
Yeah, it's
We're
fine.
still the
Vikings
Frederick,
good.
still the Frederick Vikings. So far, I mean, and the whole town is like Swedish people, and so like
They kinda get it
colors.
down.
Are,
It's like on board.
yeah.
It's on board.
Everybody's on board, but not enough orange cats. If we're truly going to be Vikings, we got to have more orange cats. Okay, well, Akilah, I am so excited to listen to the rest of the episodes of Rebel Spirit.